In this video, we are going to look at every single clinch and elimination scenario of 2023 and how likely I think that each scenario is going to be. Now, we already had the Browns beat the Jets 37-20 on Thursday Night Football, so they've clinched. Now, in the NFC, we have the 49ers, Cowboys, Lions, and Eagles clinch playoff berths. Many others, teams can clinch, and there's even a path in which every single playoff spot is filled by the end of Sunday Night Football. It's narrow, but it could happen. There could literally be no playoff spots to fight for in Week 18. The Buccaneers can clinch the AFC South and a playoff berth this weekend if they get a win over the Saints. Also, if they tie and the Falcons lose to the Bears, they're also in. Looking at the game, the Buccaneers play in Tampa. They play in Tampa, and they had already beaten the Saints on the... Where is this? Genuinely, where is this? We have to go to games, and we have to find... Oh, yeah. So, they play in New Orleans, and the Buccaneers beat the Saints 26-9. And that was in New Orleans. Now they have home field advantage. I think that the Buccaneers are locking up the NFC South. Now, in the case of the Falcons, they are playing in Chicago. And honestly, you have a lackluster Chicago team, but they've been improving as of, more recently and could be a playoff contender in 2024 based on their improvement throughout 2023. And then the Falcons, who pretty much just stay at the same level they were in 2022. So you have that going for you, and you have that going for you. I don't know. I'm just going to say that game's really a toss-up, and I can't process in my mind how it's going to go right now, because the Falcons are, I guess, a better team, but they're playing on the road. Now, the Seahawks can grab a playoff spot, but now they need to beat the Steelers, which, by the way, Seahawks are playing the Steelers, at home. They're both 8-7. This game could go either way. I personally predict the Steelers to win, but that's just out of personal bias for me because I do not want the Seahawks in the postseason. Realistically, the Seahawks are winning this game because it's at home in some kind of tight, clutch fashion. But I have enough faith that the Steelers can win that I'm going to say that they're going to win just to make me happy. But then you also have Packers versus Vikings, and both teams are 7-8 right now. Now, as far as the NFL goes, if we just look at the NFL, if we just go to Wikipedia and we just look at this really quickly, and we just want to look at this. So, the Seahawks are 8-7, and they can improve to 9-7 with a win. This would make their conference record still remain 6-5. The Vikings and the Packers are both 7-8 right now. And they're playing each other, so one of them is guaranteed to win and go to 8-8. Now, in the case of the Packers, it would make the conference record go to 6-5. In the case of the Vikings, their conference record would go to also 6-5. Actually, no, it would be 7-5. I'm an idiot. So this means that in the case of the Vikings, if the Vikings win, the Seahawks have a worse conference record than them. It's 7-4. They have a worse conference record than them. And I guess even in the case of the Packers, if the Packers win and the Seahawks lose, then the Packers are getting over the Seahawks. This game needs to end in a tie for both teams to be 7-8-1, and therefore that would get them into a playoff berth. The only problem, though, there has not been a single tie in the NFL all season. I get that the Packers and Vikings are relatively evenly matched teams, and it seems like a perfect opportunity for a tie, but a tie is not happening between these teams. There might be overtime, but it's not going to be a tie between these teams. And if the game is that ugly, there is a tie between these teams, guess what? That game might be going into 2024, at least for Eastern time. And I'm not joking when I say this. This is a Sunday night game at 8:20 p.m. So legitimately, if the Packers and Vikings game goes into a tie, legitimately that game could go for almost 4 hours and literally go past the ball drop. Like, I really hope there's not a tie. And a tie would actually help several NFL teams. Because again, it's two teams that are right on the border. The loser could be eliminated, but the winner's going to be in relatively decent playoff position. Now the Rams can get a playoff berth if the Seahawks lose to the Steelers and the Rams beat the Giants. Then they're in. If the Rams beat the Giants and the Packers Vikings game is a tie, they're also in. Which means that if the Rams beat the Giants, the Seahawks beat the Steelers, and the Packers Vikings game ends in a tie, both the Seahawks and Rams are in. And if the Buccaneers beat the Saints or they tie and the Falcons lose, the entire playoff spot could be filled. So that's again how the entire spot could be filled. It involves a Packers Vikings tie, but it is possible for every other team to be eliminated from postseason contention. It's still possible. And of course, you'd have 3 NFC West teams in the postseason. Now, the 49ers can clinch the 1 seed if they win over the Commanders, the Eagles lose to the Cardinals, and the Lions lose to the Cowboys on Saturday night. So we'll see tomorrow whether or not it's even possible anymore. Now, the Eagles can lock up the NFC East. They need an Eagles tie and a Cowboys loss, or an Eagles win and the Cowboys either lose or tie to the Lions. Now, when it comes to elimination scenarios, 5 teams face elimination. The Falcons can be eliminated if they win. If they lose to the Bears and the Buccaneers win or tie against the Saints, if they tie with the Bears and you have the Bucks, Rams tie, and the Seahawks win or tie, if they tie with the Bears and you have the Bucks, Rams, and Seahawks win, or let's say the Falcons win, but the Buccaneers, Rams, and Seahawks all win, they would be eliminated from the postseason contention. You know, they would be out of it. No ifs, ands, or buts. The Falcons would be out of the playoffs. And you might be wondering, how could this happen? How is it possible for this to happen? Well, let's again look at the Falcons. So the Falcons have a pretty poor conference record of 4-6. So they can at best finish 6-6. The Buccaneers can finish, could finish as high as 8-4. At best, they're matched. And you also look at division record, which if the Bucks win, they would beat the Falcons on division tiebreaker anyway, being 4-1. Whereas, actually, that's not totally true because they could then lose their Week 18 game to the Panthers. Anyway, I'm not going to go into semantics right now. So now you have to deal with the Rams and the Seahawks. The Rams are 6-4, Seahawks are 6-5. So if the Rams win, they're 7-5, and the Falcons can't match them. Seahawks win, their conference record is still 6-5, but the Falcons can't match them because they'd be 5-6. And I don't know, in the case of the Seahawks versus the Falcons, I'm like actually kind of unsure as to how. If it's 6-6 will go in their favor, I'd have to go to some common games tiebreaker. So I do want to look at that just for a quick second. So looking at the common games, you have to find the NFC South team that they played. So and then you have to find the NFC West team the Falcons wound up going up against. So in the case of the Falcons, they went up against the Cardinals, and the Cardinals beat the Falcons. That's a massive red flag against them already. The Cardinals could not beat the Falcons, and I think that there's actually only going to be a few common teams they play because they're not in the same division, and also they aren't the same seed, and I don't exactly see how there's a lot. Actually, no, they also each play one division, so there's going to be a few more games from that. But anyway, so the 49ers, so the Seahawks, they beat the Cardinals once, and if they win out, I'm not supposed to say if they win out because this is already. Okay, but the Seahawks already have an edge over the Cardinals with their win over the Cardinals. Now, to the NFC South team the Seahawks went up against, the Seattle Seahawks had to play the Panthers, and they won. The Falcons, all the Falcons could do was split with the Panthers. Their loss to the Panthers is really costly. I want you to understand that their loss to the Panthers, their surprising loss to a 1-12 team, could be the reason why they don't make the playoffs. A 1-12 team. How embarrassing. Now, they also are each going to be playing in a common division. For the Falcons, it looks like the division they were playing was the NFC North. The Falcons, when they played the Detroit Lions, they lost. The Seahawks beat the Lions. So already it's like just like that. Already it's so significantly in Seattle's favor. I'm looking at who the Seahawks played. It was the East. So the Falcons will go up against the Commanders. They lost. They lost the Commanders. Pretty much in common games, Seattle squishes the Falcons. And that's why if Seattle wins, then the Rams win and the Buccaneers win. Falcons are out. The Saints are eliminated with playoff contention. But if they win, they keep their hopes alive to Week 18, unlike last year, where they could get out in some crazy scenario in Week 17. This time, even if they win, and it actually happened, but this time it's not likely. It's impossible. But remember, I predicted them to lose to the Buccaneers without eliminating them from postseason contention. Also, if they tie, and you have the Seahawks and Rams win or tie, they're out, even if they tie. The Bears can be eliminated in a few ways. If they lose, they're out. Also, I want you to notice this. If the Seahawks and Rams both win and tie, the Bears are out. But notice how if you have a Seahawks for Rams and Seahawks, notice how if you have a Packers win or a Vikings win. If one of those two teams wins, then you need a Packers-Vikings tie to mathematically stay alive. It's not happening. The Packers and Vikings will not tie. They will not tie because we haven't seen a tie all season. What makes you think this is going to be the game that's tied? I'll be shocked if that game ends in a tie. Just because in football, it's so hard to end in a tie. So realistically, you need to have both the Rams and Seahawks lose, which means realistically you have to have both the Steelers and Giants win, because that's what they're playing against. You have to have the Steelers win on the road, and you have to have the Giants, and honestly, the reason why the Steelers won last week could just be because the Bengals have not beaten a single divisional opponent this year. The Seahawks are not that, and this is not that scenario. The Steelers got lucky over the Bengals because the Bengals can't win in division games. That's not happening again. And if the Bears lose to the Falcons, which is up in the air, they're out. So the loser of that game is getting eliminated, and they could possibly both be eliminated. More realistic in the event of a Falcons loss, that both teams are eliminated. Now, the Vikings win on Sunday night, they're alive, but a loss with the Packers opens the door. If they lose and you have a Seahawks and Rams win a tie, they're out. Seahawks win a tie, Buccaneers tie, and the Falcons win, they're out. Packers, they lose and you have a Rams win a tie, Buccaneers tie, and the Falcons win, they're out. Also, they tie with the Packers and the Seahawks and Rams win, they are out. The Green Bay Packers also keep their playoff hopes alive, but a tie or loss opens the door to elimination. Seahawks win a tie, or Rams win a tie, or a Buccaneers tie / and a Falcons win will get them out. And also, if they tie the Vikings and you have a Rams and the Seahawks win. So realistically, because again, ties just aren't really happening, the Vikings would realistically need both the Seahawks and Rams to win. But for the Packers to be eliminated, if they lose, all they need is one of these teams to win. So the Vikings are in a better position. The Vikings are just in better position. Also, if they lose to the Vikings, the Saints and Falcons win, and a combination of wins from other teams, there are other ways they could be eliminated. I want to. You just have this this whole book of all these random scenarios that could happen, which is honestly why this gets very very confusing. It would involve that a Cardinals win if that would happen, and then you have to have 5.5 or more combined wins from the Cowboys, Commanders, Bengals, Colts, Jaguars, Broncos. What do these games even have an impact on? I guess I guess in some kind of division and like some weird strength of schedule tiebreaker, those games could matter. But holy shit. Yeah, that's why I didn't want to look at it, because that hurts my brain. And the AFC. The Chiefs can lock up the AFC West if they win a tie against the Bengals, or the Raiders lose a tie against the Colts and the Broncos lose a tie against the Chargers. But they need both to happen, because any of these teams' losses combined, any of these teams' losses will knock them out, but they need both to lose, or if the Chiefs win, they'll solidify it. The Jaguars can clinch the AFC South if they break their losing streak. They'll also need the Colts and Texans to lose. They are locked out of the AFC North title contention if the Ravens beat the Dolphins. Now, a few weeks ago, as we know, the Bills team on the brink of a lost season. They've put themselves to where they could lock up a playoff spot in the Week 17, but they need to do more than just beat the Patriots. They need a whole bunch of scenarios. Steelers lost a tie, and the Bengals lost a tie. They also Steelers lost a tie, and the Jaguars lost a tie. Steelers lost a tie. Texans and Colts lost a tie. If you have a Bengals lost a tie and the Jaguars lost a tie, or a Bengals lost a tie, Texans and Colts lost a tie. It's not the most likely. I think that the Steelers Bengals scenario is probably the most likely, just because it involves the fewest number of scenarios, and the Jaguars are playing the Panthers, and we really can't rely on any kind of Panthers victory. There's also 9 different ways the Bills can clinch in a tie, but because I don't believe in ties, I'm not going to read through any of them. The Dolphins can clinch the AFC East if they win a tie, or the Bills lose a tie. For the Ravens, they can clinch the AFC North and a bye this weekend if they win a tie against the Dolphins. Oh no, they need to beat the Dolphins. So the elimination scenarios, they can be eliminated from the playoffs if they need to lose to the Seahawks, and if the Bills win a tie and the Colts win a tie, and Texans win and the Broncos win a tie, they're out. Also, if you have a loss to the Seahawks with the Bills win a tie, Colts win, Texans win, Jaguars lost, and the Chiefs win a tie against the Bengals, because the Jaguars win would actually help them here, because then they could lock the AFC South in that scenario. If you have a loss to the Seahawks and the Bills win a tie, Colts win a tie, Jaguars win, and the Broncos win a tie, that is also going to hurt the Seahawks significantly. So, of these scenarios, it's hard to make out what's the most probable. I don't know, because I feel like the Broncos can still beat the Chargers, because the Chargers are just pretty bad, but they might lose to them. I feel like the Bills are going to beat the Patriots. The Colts and Raiders game is probably going to be more of a toss-up. Texans are probably going to win against the Titans. And the Jaguars are probably going to win. So, I don't know. All I could say is that the Steelers need to beat Seattle, because otherwise everything gets dicey in Pittsburgh. Now, for Cincinnati, if they lose to the Chiefs and the Steelers win, and the Bills are the winner tie, Cincy's out. The Texans are just to get CJ Stroud back, and they might need him to stave off, elimination. Because if they lose to the Titans, they could be eliminated. You need Colts win, Jaguars win, and Bills win a tie, or Colts win, Jaguars win, Bengals win, the Steelers lost a tie, and the Broncos lost a tie. But it all comes down to you need a Colts and a Jaguars win. And again, in the Jaguars, the Jaguars are gonna get this win. They should snap their 4-game losing streak. But for the Colts, again, the Texans are going to need the Raiders to be successful. That's not because that would prevent either elimination scenario in the event that they can't get things done against Tennessee. Because when you almost tie them, yes, they're on the road, but it still gets dicey. The Raiders can also be eliminated this weekend. If they lose to the Colts, they're out. Also, if they tie with the Colts and you have the Jaguars, Steelers, or Bengals win, although I believe that ties aren't real. There's also 5 additional scenarios in which the tie with the Colts could lead to elimination, but again, I don't believe in ties, so we're not going to look at them. Now for the Denver Broncos. Denver's eliminated if they lose. If they tie and you have a Jaguars win a tie, or a Colts and Texans win a tie, or a Steelers win a tie, or a Bengals win, they're out. They also no longer control their own destiny, not even for the season, but even to stay alive in Week 18. If the Chiefs win a tie, Bills win a tie, and Steelers win a tie, they're out. And honestly, my personal prediction is all of them happen. Now, I'm not saying the chance of all of them happening is very great, but when I predicted all this, I predicted the Chiefs to win, I predicted the Bills to win, I predicted the Steelers to win. That's not the only way. Let's say the Steelers drop the game, but the Texans and Colts win and the Jaguars win a tie. Then they're out. Also, let's say the Chiefs win a tie. You have the Texans win, a Colts win, a Jaguars win a tie, and the Steelers win. They are out of here. And for that reason, that's why there's not a lot of teams that can be eliminated if they win. It's really only the Falcons, Bears, and Broncos. My personal prediction is depending on this case of the Falcons Bears game, I think that we're going to see realistically, a Bears elimination no matter what. If the Falcons are able to if the Atlanta Falcons are able to get the win, I think that that they have a somewhat decent chance of staying alive, but they're going to need Pittsburgh to step up and screw over the AFC. And the other team is the Broncos, and I feel like the Broncos are going to be eliminated in some way or another. That's not the only teams I feel like are going to be eliminated because I feel like the Raiders might drop this game against the Colts. It's honestly a bit more likely than the Raiders winning this game is them losing it. So I do think the Raiders could be facing elimination. I think that the Texans should be fine. I think the Texans should be fine. I think that the Bengals should be fine. I think that the Steelers should be fine. But Raiders and especially Broncos, you got to worry about in the AFC and the NFC. You think about elimination scenarios and I think that the Saints are going to be out of it because I think they're going to lose. The Vikings and Packers, I think one of the teams is going to be eliminated. I feel like Green Bay is more likely to both lose this game and then they have an easier path to elimination than the Vikings. I think if the Packers win, the Vikings should still be in it, but if Packers lose, they're pretty much out of it. Thank you for watching.